Cities knew all about this and had no trouble charging adventurers the appropriate amount of money for their services. A healing potion cost 100 gold to a heavily armed warrior, while that same potion might go for a single copper when sold to someone local. Indeed, many great cities were built upon the wealth of adventurers who delved in every kind of dungeon, crypt, and tomb imaginable. But for a small village like Carlton, there was no need for charging so much for anything. At least, that's what the few shop owners believed. "Whether you're an adventurer or a peasant," Tomlin Toppins, the general store owner, would often say, "our prices are the same." Of course, Tomlin Toppins owned a mansion by villager standards, a 2-story house with ample room for a garden in the back. Few people's wealth compared to his. The fact that men would buy his wares, bandages, rope, and tools for 20 silver and then delve into the first level of the dungeon, often returning with several hundred gold, meant nothing to him. But to me, that seemed like a poor trade-off, especially if the adventurers returned in order to buy more supplies. For people like Tomlin Toppins, life had already been made. Running a shop was retirement. Me? I was just getting started out in life, and I was ready to embark on my first major adventure, taking over old Tomlin's store. The old man, well, my old man, if I'm going to tell the truth, was getting tired of sitting behind a counter all day, selling trinkets and baubles. And so it was up to me, next in line in the Toppins succession, to take over the store. And take over it I was going to do. "Artemis," my father had said to me that fateful night, "I'm quitting. It's time for you to do that thing you've always been pestering me about. Take the store, run it however you want, just don't run it into the ground." This had been the start of an exciting new opportunity. Goodbye, general store, and hello, adventure awaits, the greatest shop in the history of the world. Hopefully. Adventure Awaits was a good name, right? I spent a lot of time working on it. Though I suppose the name doesn't matter so much since there's no other adventuring store in town, so it wasn't like there were options to begin with. Adventure Awaits would be unique in many ways, but perhaps my biggest claim to fame is that fact that I'm a novice level 1 runesmith. Having studied the mysterious runic ways under the Elder Baba, I was fairly confident in my ability to inscribe special runes into the items I would be selling. That would justify my higher prices for certain. Nothing gets an adventurer salivating like seeing a few runes carefully inscribed into a piece of metal. Hell, even if the rune doesn't glow, they still get excited. The only trouble I had right now was inventory. I had plenty of mundane items, but I was missing one of the most important tools a runesmith can have: a scribe. Scribes were special carving tools that allowed one to channel their innate magic into the runes themselves. Without a scribe, runesmithing wasn't possible, at least not the pure art. There was the old practice of rune scribbling that existed, which used the innate magic of humans to provide slight blessings to items. But such a practice was weak, limited, and unable to truly imbue powerful magics into anything. No, if I was going to be serious about my work, I'd need a scribe. Most scribes were made of whalebone, warthog tusk, or animal rib, carefully carved and intricately sealed with the most secretive symbols that would unleash the true power of infusion. But for a local of Carlton, most scribes would simply not do. No, I was trained by a woman who knew the true secrets of runesmithing, and perhaps the greatest secret there was involved the bones of giants. The giants were the ones said to have built the Carl long ago. The Great Skull was a carving of theirs, an artistic expression of the fate that awaited any who went below the surface. They knew true rune magic, a magic so pure that it was said to be found in their very bones. A giant bone scribe would unleash my powers like no one else had ever seen. With such an artifact, I could easily enchant all of my items and weapons in the store, selling them for incredibly high markups and earning a fortune. This was the entire reason I was now standing in front of the great doors of Giant's Carl. The massive skull carved out of the mountain itself, long weathered by the elements, loomed over me with eyes that suggested there was only suffering to be found within. The doors themselves, formed out of the teeth of the skull, were only cracked open. But so large were they that a single sliver in the door was wide enough to bring 10 oxen side by side.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.